It's one of those things that people, unless you are around it to see it, you won't understand how important it is to stay physically fit throughout your life, to eat right, to feed your mind consistently. Like we were just talking about, I listen to podcasts while I'm in the gym. That's more so just to feed my mind, to just keep me active, to keep me thinking, to keep me curious, questions. What you see in later in life, that's why Alzheimer's is what it is. That's why dementia is what it is, right? Not that I'm saying they didn't ask questions or that they didn't educate themselves, but that's a very common thing that has to do with diet, staying active, mentally, physically, everything.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, I got a good friend of mine. I got a repeat guest. I got someone who's doing big things in the assisted living space, the behavioral health space. He currently owns 17 facilities, and we are going to talk so much good game on how you can get in the industry too. I got my man, Serg Lupescu. Serg, welcome back to the show for the second time.
Let's go, dude.
Man, dude.
You know what?
You are crushing the game right now.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
Yeah, you are absolutely crushing, dude. And I just want to shout that out first and foremost.
Appreciate you.
Yes, I'm a big fan of everything you're doing, man. Keep moving, keep shaking. I see all the growth, and it's inspiring. But anyways, man, so much to cover here. We're gonna drop so much game on the assisted living space. We're gonna talk about the why. We're gonna talk about the how people can get started into this game, the pros and cons, the benefits, all that sort of stuff. And then make sure you guys stick around to the end because we're gonna be dropping how Serg got $300,000 stolen from him in this space and a lot of mistakes to avoid. But first and foremost, man, we got the greatest transfer of wealth, the greatest transfer of wealth in American history is going down right now. We got 40 million retiring baby boomers. I know we're taking advantage of this in the boutique hotel space from all these mom and pop owners that are retiring and selling these tired boutique hotels. But you guys are taking advantage of the same exact demographic trend right now in the assisted living space because let's be honest, average life expectancy for a male in the US right now is 77. So a lot of these boomers that are retiring, they're creeping up on this age. They're going to be moving into retirement homes, and that's where the demand's going to be. And so I think from a timing perspective, there couldn't be a better spot to pick.
Oh, absolutely. You know what's crazy, dude? In 2020, 12.5 million people over 80, that was the number in 2020. Today, it's 15 million.
Damn.
Of baby boomers that are over 80 years old. In 2035, you want to guess what that number is going to be?
What is it?
28 million.
Damn.
Bro, that's 13 million people in the next 10 years that are going to be over the age of 80.
Crazy.
So talk about just a skyrocket of demand that's going to be for this space, but then also the opportunity of the transfer of wealth. Another trend I'm seeing is a lot of these individuals, what they're telling me is, Serg, I'm selling everything because I don't want it to be a burden to my kids, to my family. I'm cashing it in. I'm getting comfortable, and I'm making sure I ride this out, with the money and the wealth that they built through real estate.
Who's cashing in?
All the baby boomers. I just talked to a 70-year-old selling an assisted living facility out in Scottsdale. I said, are you going to 1031 into anything? He said, no, sir. I'm going to just go ahead and cash in, take care of my kids, my grandkids, and just spend time with them. They don't really care to pass it on to them, dude. It's wild to see this trend within baby boomers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, as far as the why, though, obviously we got this big shift in demographics. And you mentioned it. A lot of these boomers that own these facilities might be selling their facilities. So it's an opportunity to come in and pick up an underperforming facility for, cents on the dollar and improve it. But any other compelling whys?
Oh, absolutely, dude. Look, with the amount of demand that's coming, the shortage that's there with units that are going to be available for these next 13 million individuals that are going to come and need these services and this long-term care, there's going to be a shortage of 156,000 units.
Damn.
For senior
Say that one
housing.
more time. How many?
156,000 units between now and the next 10 years. That's the shortage that there's going to be.
How many beds
for the demand.
How many beds are in an average facility?
On average, 20 to 30 beds.
Okay, so 156,000 times 20 to 30 beds.
Yeah.
That's a lot of beds.
It is a lot of beds.
Yeah.
And I was watching.
I'm going to do that math right
now.
Yeah,
let's do the math. Let's do the math.
So 156,000 times, would you say the
let's
average
say 30 beds.
30 beds.
On average.
We're looking at a shortage of 4.6 million beds.
Yes, sir. You know what's going to happen starting April? What a lot of the CEOs in the space, the big dogs, are predicting?
What?
That there's going to be non-refundable deposits to reserve beds
Mm,
starting next year. That's
damn.
what they're all predicting. They cannot build fast enough because the construction cycle is anywhere from 3 to 5 years for something that's a ground up development.
Let me ask you a question. For someone that's aging, why would they go into an assisted living facility versus like, having in-home care?
It's expensive, dude.
Mm,
In home care is literally double the cost of an all-inclusive service that's provided in an assisted living home. On average, right now, national is $5,800 for a private bed in an assisted living home. That's going to be double with in-home care because they do it based off of an hourly rate with in-home care. And usually the average is anywhere from $30 to $35 an hour. And if you need even 24-hour care, that adds up and it's very expensive. And not only that, but the staffing, right? The staffing becomes even more of a difficult thing to get consistent people coming and giving you the care. It's not like you're going to get the same caregiver. Whereas in an assisted living home, the staffing is very consistent. You're going to have the same people there in most cases. It's not going to be a completely different caregiver trying to relearn your habits, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So that's why there's a huge benefit to having the assisted living homes versus in-home care.
does insurance cover this for the patients?
Yes, Medicaid does,
Medicaid does.
not
Okay.
Medicare.
What percentage of like your facilities and your clients they're saying there is the money's coming from insurance versus self-funding?
It's typically about 60-40 split. 60% is Medicaid and then 40% private pay.
Dude, so much to cover here. Okay, so as far as the why, we got some of the stuff that we touched on, and this is very, very compelling. The shortage is, I mean, we're talking about 4.6 million beds short. And by what year is that?
2035.
By 2035.
The next 10 years.
Okay.
So it's right.
So the
for
opportunity is
investment.
right now. Okay. And then talk about, I want to start talking about the why. So because someone listening to this, it's like, okay, the first thing that comes to mind for me is like, okay, well, what market should I be in? Right. So like we live in San Diego. Is San Diego a good market? You live in Arizona. I know Arizona is a good market, but like if someone's listening to this and they live in wherever, Florida, New York, how do they identify which market is going to be opportune?
There's a lot of criterias that I like to factor in when I'm looking at something because not every, even though Arizona is a good area, that doesn't mean every city in Arizona is going to make sense.
It's hyper local.
Yeah, it's very hyper local, just like a lot of real estate is.
Yeah.
You can't just go determine based on the state. The state regulations are one thing. So figuring out which states have the best or most lax regulations, and then from there narrowing down the city that you're going to go ahead and go into and understanding the regulations and the zoning compliance laws there for these specific type of facilities. So once you determine that, right, I like states that are not as much red tape. So Arizona being one of them. And then California is actually not that crazy when it comes to the regulations, but it comes down to the cities. That's what's more critical because certain cities will make you do over the top things for a residential setting that is going to cost you a lot more and not make a lot of sense on your ROI. So the underwriting is going to be a big factor when it comes to determining, is this going to make sense for this location?
And one of the biggest things with like the regulations is how many beds you can legally operate in a residential space, right?
Correct.
And so like talk about the difference. Like Arizona's 10, right? Something like that.
Yeah, and it's 10 beds on standard. It's 10 beds. California standard is 6 beds. Washington State 6 beds.
That's a big difference.
It is a big difference. But the really key thing here, dude, with California is your guys' ADU play. So with ADUs, you can create a separate address, right? You don't need to parcel it off or create a new APN or anything. You can create a new address for that ADU. So the work around that is you can license that ADU under that same like parcel, right? So now you get 6 beds in your main home, and then you get 6 beds in your other one. And now you have 12 beds on one location.
How many beds go in one room?
You can have 2 beds in one room.
Okay.
That's the standard.
Got it. Okay. So so if you're talking 10 in Arizona, you're looking at getting a 5-bedroom house is going to maximize that. Now, is it good to have rooms for the nurses as well?
So for your staff and for your caregivers, it's not required. It is a nice option to offer, but it's not required. And most times, you're having staff work 12-hour shifts. So for them, they're either cleaning, cooking, or providing care and passing medications. That's all they do. So they don't need to necessarily like take a break. They'll take a break at the dining room. while all the residents are in the living room hanging out or they're doing
Got it. So they're
activities.
coming and going like
Yeah,
any other W-2 or day job.
exactly.
Okay. And then the other question is like with the market selection is like, okay, well, you're going to look at some of the same real estate fundamentals. Obviously, that's going to have something to do with the appreciation. But when I think about this, I'm like, and I've seen them on like Biz Buy Sell and some of these business brokerages listings. People are selling their assisted living spaces. So do you think it's better to buy existing, or is it better to start one from scratch?
Buy existing
Why?
all day, just like you. Why do you buy existing boutique hotels rather than going and starting one from scratch?
It takes years to get through permitting, entitlement, and building development. I'm not trying to do that right now.
Exactly. So you expedite it, right? So the whole point of buying something existing, you can always negotiate a better deal with the seller because they're typically tired or more desperate, or they're just willing to just get away from the business and they'll give you a better price. All the licensing's already been done. The zoning's been done. You can go in there and take a tired property that maybe needs new flooring. So you remove all the carpet. In most cases, they do have carpet, a fresh coat of paint, right? You could do a lot of these little value add stuff that instantly just will help increase the rate that you're going to charge per bedroom. So you're expediting the process that could take anywhere from 6 to 12 months or even 24 months and shrink that down to 3 to 6 months.
What is the typical cost of a bed? I know it varies based on market, but ballpark, generally speaking, what is the cost that someone will pay for a bed?
Yeah. So what I've seen is anywhere on the low end, about $65,000 per bed, right? Is what a seller would sell you. On the high end, I've seen it up to $200 to $300 per bed. 200, 300,000 per bed.
What about for the patient, the client that's going to rent the bed and live there? What are they going to expect to pay? Yeah.
So the average national is $5,800 for a private room.
And what does that come with?
That comes with all your food included, all your medication administration included, laundry, showers, all of that's inclusive. The care, 24/7, all of that's inclusive with that.
Damn. Does that come with like a haircut and a pedicure every now and then?
Most facilities will do like an add-on,
Mm-hmm.
but they do have salons. A lot of these homes do have like a little space where it's like a salon area,
Yeah. Okay.
and they'll just add that
What
on the
about like
invoice.
transportation? Because like, dude, what if I want to go out? I want to go to the beach. I want to go to the park. I want to go get on a boat. What does that look like?
That's a whole nother booming business in the space. But most facilities do not offer transportation due to the fact of liability. So it increases their premiums. You have to hire drivers now. And reality is a lot of these seniors do not want to leave the home.
Hmm.
They
don't
do
want to
not.
leave. Like, well, they go in there and they're not leaving.
Exactly.
Damn. Okay. So average bed for your own room, you said is 5,800. What about if you have a shared room?
The shared room is about $1,000 less than that, so 4,800.
So 4,800. So you as the operator makes more sense to have the doubles, right?
It can make sense, but it's harder to market a double.
People want the singles.
Yes, they want the singles, and they want at least like a half bath or a private bath if that's available. And they don't want roommates unless it's going to be a husband and wife. So it's a little harder to market. Not that it's impossible. I've certainly done it. It's got to be the right personalities in the same room. They have to get along.
So give me the game. So you want to buy existing.
Yes.
And it's very clear on that because of the licensing. How long does the licensing take and the zoning take if someone wanted to just start from scratch?
On average, 12 months.
Damn, 12 months. Okay, that's a long time.
That's a long holding period.
And then I'm sure there's a lot of materials and supplies, and then repositioning the home to be to qualify for like this product.
Yes.
In terms of like pass all the licensing, that probably takes a lot of money too, right?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So you go in, buy existing. Now, when you look at the existing assisted living facilities to buy, what's the ideal buy box? Give me the game.
Yeah, the ideal buy box, obviously it's got to be zoned. You want to maximize how many beds it's already currently licensed for. So for me, being in Arizona, at minimum, it's got to be licensed for 10 beds. I've bought stuff where it's 6 bedrooms, 3 baths, but it's licensed for 10 beds. It's got to have the sprinkler system, fire panel. That current zoning should be existing on that home. So even if it's vacant, I want that zoning at least in place because the licensing doesn't take nearly as long as it takes to zone a property. Licensing can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months on average. So for me, I'll even get something existing that's tired, but was previously used. And that's the game right there. Get something that's previously been used. as an assisted living home that you can go in, renovate it, do whatever necessary work to it, and then license it. And you can start the licensing process upon acquisition. It's not like you need to wait, and you could even do that during due diligence. So you could
And so
expedite
the
that
licensing is
process.
a quick step.
Yes,
The permitting and the zoning, that's the long part.
that's the long.
So the licensing is basically just paying the fee.
Yeah, paying the fees, submitting the application, and waiting for you to get your certificate of occupancy or your conditional use permit,
Yeah.
whatever that
Are
is.
there any states that allow you to go up to like 15, 20 rooms?
Arizona does. So one individual.
Really?
Yes.
I thought you said 10.
I know I said that.
What's
but
the
there's
caveat?
always caveats.
Mm.
You can get a variance, right? And you can go to the city, state your case, put a good presentation together, explain why. One individual just did this that I'm actually helping. They got approved for 16 beds where they were previously licensed as a 10-bed.
Large property.
Large
You got
property.
the space for
It's
it.
about 9,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Yep. But
I got one property in Arizona that could be a good fit. We do the luxury Airbnb out of it, and it crushes as Airbnb, but it's 7,600 square feet on a golf course, and it's got a lot of space. So it's got the amenities, but its main house is 5-bed, 5-bath. The guest house is 3-bed, 3-bath. And so theoretically with that one, maybe you could get a variance to do 16 beds, right? Because it's a large property, has all the
and
space.
you're in the city of Scottsdale. City of Scottsdale is
We're in the
city of
magic
Phoenix.
zip code.
The 85254.
85254.
Let's
yeah.
go, baby.
And for the listeners, the magic zip code in Scottsdale is Scottsdale mailing address, but you're on the Phoenix side. So you get the lower property taxes on Phoenix, and you're in the Paradise Valley School District. So all the schools are 8s, 9s, and 10s. But you get the lower property taxes and you still get the Scottsdale mailing address.
You want to guess how many homes are in the 85254
How many?
that are assisted living homes?
How many?
70.
7?
70.
70.
70.
Okay, so that is that high or low?
That's high.
That's high.
Very high.
So it's a good
Highly
one to get it past.
saturated.
It's a good one to get it past.
It's a good one to get it past.
Hey, you're gonna be in Scottsdale.
But your neighbor next door has got an assisted living home too. That's how saturated it is over there.
Yeah. Well, they don't like the Airbnb game out there either. That property's been on Fox 10 Phoenix News, bro.
I believe you.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
signs in the neighborhood that says homes, not hotels.
I believe
I'm like,
you.
dog, I'm a hotel investor.
It's time to put some seniors in there, baby.
No. Well, if Airbnb shifted with that property, it's probably it's not even close. It's the best performing Airbnb that I own, and out of any Airbnb that we've ever managed for other people, this is like it's not even close. This is the best performing. Now, if obviously nothing's guaranteed, if that ever shifted or Airbnb regs shifted, then I would probably look at that model for sure.
Only caveat there is you got the spacing requirement. So
What is the spacing requirement?
So City of Phoenix, for example, and this is state to state and also city to city. So City of Phoenix has a 1,320 square foot requirement. So they all have to be 1,320 square feet apart from each other. If it's within that, you're likely going to have to go to the city and try to get a variance just for the spacing.
Spacing between
Another care home, another assisted living home.
assisted living. So as long as your neighbors directly don't have one, you probably get 1,300 feet. That's what?
It's not a lot.
400 yards, one football
Yeah.
field.
It's not a big distance, but that's what's crazy.
There's no one to the back. It's a golf course.
Yeah.
There's only 3 neighbors then that would fit that radius because the homes are spread out. So it'd be across the street and then the 2 on either side.
Yeah, and they'll tell you that when you call City of Phoenix and you say, "Hey, I'm trying to do an assisted living home. Does this meet the spacing requirement?" And they'll let you know. They'll pull up the addresses, let you know which ones are zoned, and then they'll tell you if it meets the qualification or not.
Now, as far as like owning the home and just renting the home from a landlord and actually owning the business, what avenue do you like better of the two?
If you have the means, definitely purchase. But I like leasing because you're not coming out of pocket for the down payment, for the renovations, for the cost of getting into the property. So you're able to usually typically negotiate depending on the landlord, but you're able to negotiate a reduced rent period or a rent abatement period. And you can get some pretty good terms, especially if you're willing to sign anywhere from a 5 to 7 year lease with the landlord and allow them to do the renovations to it. And they know that you're going to be a sticky tenant, especially if you're going to be the one going through the zoning and the licensing process. So I like both models. Honestly, it's just really dependent on each individual's situation, which goes into how do you fund it, right? If you're not going to purchase the real estate, you can get business financing and you can get 0% credit card funding for your business to do the startup. And you can go in, and as long as you have your pro forma and business plan put together of like, hey, this is what my rent's going to be, and that's fixed, right? That's, I mean, there's the conversation of why you should go rent a home versus buying a home. Same thing, right? It's going to be a fixed amount. Typically, you're not having to do triple net, so you're not covering insurance and taxes. The landlord is, right? And you're going to be in there long term. So at the end of the day, it's just not as much money out of pocket for a lot of people that are just trying to get into the space with the leasing.
Yeah. So I mean, it sounds like it's similar to like the Airbnb game because it's like, you got the Airbnb arbitrage, and like I'm like, dude, well, long-term wealth is built through owning the real estate, owning the dirt. I always say that. But if you don't have, you're not starting from a place of a lot of like capital, then maybe just get your foot in the door and get the cash flow, and then eventually go in and start buying the real estate. But because the depreciation is going to offset that income it spits off too, right?
Yeah. So then you can also negotiate, right? You're going to obviously have the right of refusal in your lease agreements in most cases. You can also do the option of purchase as well. Put 5% down with your landlord, be able to secure that when you have the business stabilized, and you could go get SBA financing that will fund the whole thing, purchase asset and, the business if you need extra cash.
So if you were to purchase the real estate, you could theoretically get a real estate loan for the real estate, and then you can get business funding via the SBA for the business. So essentially 2 loans will basically get you into the whole thing for very little to no money down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Damn. Okay, that's pretty good. So okay. So talk about lending. What does the lending look like? Real estate wise, it's very traditional, same way as you'd be getting traditionally.
Yeah.
And then SBA is what?
SBA 7A. I mean, the biggest thing right now is the rates, man. SBA is not giving very competitive rates. They're in the 10 to 11% rate range right now. And a lot of the funding that even a lot of my members are getting with SBA and stuff, anywhere from 150 to 250,000, and that's at a 10% rate for over 10 years, interest only. So that's kind of what the business financing looks like for something like this in this space.
From
what's SBA.
What's the staffing look like for something like this?
Very straightforward, dude. Yeah, very straightforward. So most average homes will have their manager or administrator, which is running the day-to-day, right? They're doing all the chores, they're doing all the admits, they're doing all the paperwork. And then you have your caregivers. Typically, you will have 2 caregivers during days. One is doing the cleaning, the cooking, and just whatever miscellaneous things need to be done around the home. And then you have the one that's doing a lot of the care. So typically, and then the one that's doing the cooking and cleaning, there's only so much cooking and cleaning that can be done. So they're, filling in to help with other residents and help with the care. And then at night, it's just one caregiver. Most residents are sleeping. There's not much for them to do. They prep everything for the next shift that comes in the day. So they're, making sure all the medications are properly filled if they're needing to be filled. They're making sure all the laundry is being done. You do all the laundry at night. You do the laundry, you know what I mean? So it's very straightforward. It's not very complex. On average, every facility will have 4 to 6 caregivers on staff. That's between as needed, part-time, and full-time. And then you got your administrator or manager.
What's the best way to okay, because you're going to have an experienced operator come in or manager, and they're going to have the experience. Now, how important is it because let's just say someone listening to this and they're like, oh, this sounds pretty cool. I want to get in the game. How important is it for someone to understand all the medical stuff and actually understand like the nursing component of this business? It's 0. So it's just like you're hiring the team that has the experience. You're just the investor.
Yeah. There's a lot of absentee owners that do not have any medical background whatsoever.
Damn.
Because it's not necessary. The only thing that's being done from a medical standpoint is the medication administration. And you can learn that within a 40-hour course crash online.
And then when you're placing the what do you call them? You call them clients,
residents.
Tenants? What do you call them? Residents?
Residents, yeah.
So when you're placing a residence, what's a typical agreement?
Month to month.
Really?
Yep. It's month to month. They have
you guys don't lock in like 2-year, 3-year thing?
No.
Why is that?
It's against the law.
Really?
Yeah. Because you cannot guarantee.
Because they could die.
They could die. You will have the average life.
You do like a 3-year, and then obviously the one caveat would be if they die.
No. So the average lifespan of most residents in an assisted living home is 6 months.
Are you serious? Damn.
So that's why you can't lock it in.
Do you think that's because they know going in there that they're going to die there?
Most likely, most families understand that that's going to be where they're going to
And also they don't go in there until their health is really jeopardized, where they can't even move around anymore,
where
right?
their needs are just so high that the family can no longer support it and they can't,
Mm.
bring in
It
additional
becomes a
support.
burden to the family.
Correct. Financially and physically and mentally.
Damn, that's crazy. So high. This is high turnover
And that's on average. So
on
keep in
average. Yeah.
mind, I mean, we have residents that are with us for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, it's the average, right? Because you're going to have respite stays, people that come out of skilled nursing facilities that just need 2 months of rehab, right? They just got out of rehab. They need some oversight. They need home health to come into the facility. You're there providing them supervision, making sure they don't fall again and break their hip, you know? So there's a lot of different scenarios. There's also residents that come on hospice. On hospice, that's their last stretch right there. Once they're on hospice, most residents on hospice are lasting maybe a month, 2.
Damn.
So you're having all these different scenarios. So that's why the average goes down to 6
Yep.
months. You don't need to take those types of clients, but
Yep. So with the turnover, how do you market these rooms? How do you fill them? What's the best place?
the best place, what I love doing is working with all the skilled nursing facilities, because you got to look at the continuum of care, meaning when they go into the hospital, where do they go from there? In most cases, a lot of these seniors, what happens from there, usually they've broken a hip, they've gotten pneumonia, their health has just declined so rapidly that even the family are like, we can't take you back home. You're going to go into a skilled nursing facility, see how you recover. If you can recover from there, then maybe we'll bring you home. But if you can't recover there, the next step naturally is assisted living. So from there, that's where you want all those skilled nursing facilities and rehabs have all your potential clients. So I build relationships there with the case managers, the discharge planners, everybody there, nurses, etc. And then also hospice liaisons, they're marketing people. They're already servicing your clients in their own homes, right? And then they're like, hey, look, the family want to move them into a 24/7 care situation. Your assisted living home makes sense. So hospice, and then home health. Home health is doing the exact same thing hospice is doing, except from a rehab standpoint. So those are the people you're building relationships with. And then placement agents. Placement agents are just like real estate agents for seniors, helping them find the right fit, the right home, with the right staff,
Yep.
with the right care.
Hey guys, if you're looking to get into real estate investing, but you're like, hey, I don't have the time, but you want to participate in the passive income, the tax benefits, and the wealth building, my company, Summers Capital, partners with limited partners, people like yourself, and we go out and buy boutique hotels. We have a fund where we currently own 5 hotels, and we currently have a wait list for investors to participate with us. If you want to learn more to see if this is a fit for you, you can go to summerscapital.com/invest to inquire and get on our wait list and be notified next time we have an opportunity. Again, summerscapital.com/invest. Now back to the show. So talk about what's possible with the income on one facility, and then kind of like what the expenses, kind of like what you can expect. So let's just break it down. So you said you can make up to $60,000 on one property per month.
Per month, gross.
In this space. Okay, so assuming that's true, how many beds would you need to kind of get there?
10 beds.
10 beds.
10 beds to get to 60K. That's
Okay.
average of 6,000 a resident. The
Okay.
average nationwide is 5,800.
Okay. So in order to service the 10 beds and the 10 patients, or residents rather, what is the expenses going to kind of look like?
40,000 a month.
40K a month. So you're netting
So
20K.
you're netting 20K.
And that includes, what are their biggest expenses? Payroll.
Your
Okay.
debt service or rent.
Payroll, taxes.
Payroll, taxes. So payroll in general. Payroll, taxes, payroll. Your rent or debt service if you got a mortgage. And then the rest is all miscellaneous. Food, utilities, insurance, etc.
Yeah. Okay. So 240 a year. That's pretty lucrative, because I mean, you do four of those facilities, you're making $1 million, you're netting $1 million. And how you're saying it's pretty passive for the owner.
Yeah. The more you scale, the more passive it actually becomes, because you have economies of scale at that point. You're sharing a lot of your staff. Your manager can manage 2 homes. There's economies of scale to it.
So if you had 4 facilities, let's just say in one market, like you're in a big market, you have 4 facilities, would you have an overarching like asset manager or like district manager that kind of like everyone reports to?
Yeah. So what you can do is you'll have your house managers, right? Those are the ones running your day-to-day, right? So your managers that are actually hanging their certification, or your administrator hanging their actual license or certification on the wall. They're responsible for all the day-to-day. And then you can have an overarching like COO, right? Who's overseeing those managers for your 4 locations, which would really be just 2 managers that you're overseeing.
Damn. Okay, so 20K net per month. That's pretty damn good. And the cool thing about this is like, unlike the Airbnb game where your income's going to fluctuate between high season, low season, shoulder season, this is pretty fixed.
Very consistent.
Yeah. And then you mentioned early in the show, 40% are paying through insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Is it relatively easy to collect that?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah. It's not anything difficult because you get contracted with MCOs and providers and you just bill and you're retroactively being paid every 2 weeks.
Got it. And then who would you use for marketing? Like you got to market the rooms, you got to get them leased out, you got to do the property tours. Would you use someone that's on site, or like how do you approach that?
A marketing director.
That's a marketing director.
Yes, that's going to do.
Now, if you have one facility, do you have the income to support that?
No, you do it yourself.
You do it yourself until you have the scale.
Until you have the scale.
Got it.
I did a lot of my tours. You want to talk about sales?
You were the one doing it. Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What is that like walking like a family? Because it's typically the kids are coming with.
I'm gonna give you some game right now.
Yeah, let's hear it.
No tour should take more than 30 minutes. You should already have that trust barrier removed by having a VSCL video on your website of you doing the tour of your home already. So when they go to your website initially, they'll see you do the tour. So when they come to your home to just see it, they already know who you are. They already understand, okay, we know we just wanted to meet Serg. We just wanted to physically see the place.
Yeah.
But they've
Make sure it's real.
Yes. But they've already accepted the fact, all right, this is where I'm gonna move my loved one. But no tour should take more than 30 minutes. The longer it takes, the harder it is for them to make a decision. So at the end of the tour, what I like to do is, hey, are we going to put a deposit down or are we not? Because they're going to go shop around if you don't ask that question. Say, look, I'm marketing this room. I'm not waiting for you to give me a decision.
Scarcity creates demand.
Yep. And so also when they initially come in, the mistake a lot of care homeowners do or a lot of assisted living operators do is they start talking about the facility right away. Don't do that. Make it all about their loved one. Get all the information about the client or the resident that's going to be moving in and make it all about them. Do not even bring up the room. Do not bring up the price. None of that. Make it all about them. And by the end of it, that's when you make your sell. But you don't even need to sell. By that point, if you got a great home, great staff that's there smiling, food is cooking, you got cookies baking, place is sold. All you got to do is just say, all right, give me that non-refundable deposit, and then
that brings up a good question. So who does the cooking? Oh, that's a lot of food that needs to go out.
Yeah, it's the caregivers.
The caregivers cook.
Yeah, they have a food handler's card. That's easy. You do it online.
You get them like cooking lessons, or what do you do to get them?
Dude, that's part of
good food. I'm like, if I was going out and I got 6 months,
yeah.
I'm like, I want all the best food.
You know what? You're not even gonna be hungry.
I don't want to eat shitty food, bro.
Bro, you're dying. You're not even hungry. Your appetite's gone.
Really?
Most residents, yep.
Damn,
they don't even have an appetite. It's a very sad situation. End of life. It's unfortunate, and most residents, dude.
Do you think that
they don't have an appetite? So,
because for me, I'm like, man, I think a lot of aging is like mindset. Like I talked to Grant Cardone. The dude's almost 68. I think he just turned 60. As a matter of fact, he's almost 70. He's just getting warmed up. But then you could talk to another 68-year-old that's in a assisted living facility, and they're basically like just counting down the days. It's two different mindsets.
Mindset's a big thing, but it's also how these people took care of themselves throughout their lives.
Are you seeing a common theme with like
Absolutely.
A lot of these folks? They didn't eat good, they didn't work out, they didn't take care of their bodies, they didn't take care of their mind.
Yeah.
And then now you're seeing the effects of it.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that people, unless you are around it to see it, you won't understand how important it is to stay physically fit throughout your life, to eat right, to feed your mind consistently. Like we were just talking about, I listen to podcasts while I'm in the gym. That's more so just to feed my mind, to just keep me active, to keep me thinking, to keep me curious, questions. What you see in later in life, that's why Alzheimer's is what it is. That's why dementia is what it is, right? Not that I'm saying they didn't ask questions or that they didn't educate themselves, but that's a very common thing that has to do with diet, staying active, mentally, physically, everything.
That's really deep, dude. That's really deep. And by the way, podcasting at the gym, I think that's dope. For me, I prefer, I got to listen to like some banger music to get me like going hard. But I love
the pre-workouts for, brother.
Yeah, I love listening to podcasts when I'm like driving, walking the bay. I walk all the time. I try to walk 4 miles a day. Or if I'm like in the shower, I'll listen.
What's
to podcasts.
Your body fat at, by the way? I know I heard you on another podcast. I think you were trying to hit a certain percentage, right? What are you at
Yeah,
now?
I've been trying to get into what are they called? You know, the real body scans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I had one 2 weeks ago, and I had to cancel because I just had a crazy day in the office. And so I'm rebooked on the calendar for later this month. And so I got to get what the accurate one is. But I got to be honest with you, I haven't tested in a while. And the last time I tested was like a in-home one that like I have from Amazon. And I don't know how accurate that thing is because it was kind of like fluctuating like from day to day, like too much to where like this is not accurate. So but I'm curious to see where I really am at. And like anything, if you don't know your numbers, it's like, well, how are you going to improve, right? And so I would say I'm somewhere between, if I had to guess, I would say I'm somewhere between like 13 to 15%
Really?
right now. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
You think that's high or low?
I think that's high.
You think that's
I
high?
thought you were lower.
No, no.
Just the way just seeing you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I,
awesome,
I,
brother.
I would, I would assume I'm between 13 and 15. And 10 is the target. But I got to be honest. I didn't hit my goal of the 10. And my like going into the new year and everything, I was like, okay, I'm gonna hit 10, I'm gonna hit 10, I'm gonna hit 10. And then I get to like this part of the year where it's like July, August, best time of the year. The weather's amazing. It's sunny. The sun goes down late. There's a lot of activities to do. There's concerts everywhere. There's things to do. And so like, I want to enjoy it a little bit, right? I want to go out and I love eating and that sort of thing. And so yeah, I work out a lot, I walk a lot, but I miss my goal. I'll be the first to say I missed that goal. And so I'm gonna reset. And after Labor Day weekend, I'm gonna do another stretch run. Because think about like the year, right? September, October, November. That's really the time to like dial in. Once you hit Thanksgiving, then you get the holidays and you got Christmas and New Year's. And so really the sprint, it's a 90-day sprint starting at like Labor Day, after Labor Day weekend. So you have September, October, and then the first 2-3 weeks of November to really hit your thing. And then it's another kind of like month to like kind of like take your foot off the gas, in my opinion, kind of like reset a little bit. That's kind of how I'm looking at August. So we'll see. But anyways, back to the assisted living space, dude. How much can these things sell for? Because obviously you're building up a profitable business. What kind of multiple can you get?
It's crazy, man, because I've talked to so many different people. What I'm seeing is typically 1.5x of the NOI is what these will sell for.
Damn. So it does make sense to just buy it.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff that I've been buying,
So
that's
something
the multiple.
that's getting 240 a year will trade for something like 350.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. That
That's
makes
why I love buying existing because these things are just cash flow cows, dude. They cash like crazy, like they cash flow like crazy. So it's like you're getting at a really, really good multiple. Now, the secret, right, is scaling. Obviously, the more you can have, the higher the multiple,
and the better your margins will be.
better your margins are going to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you can really start talking EBITDA at that point.
What's the biggest risk to this model?
Man, the biggest risk I would say right now, it's becoming such a trend, but the risk I see is from the insurance side of it. So the state funded programs, the Medicaid, et cetera, those running out. California is set to run out of one of their Medi-Cal programs right now, I believe in the next 3 years from a funding side of it. You know how many, I don't know the exact number of how many residents have this Medi-Cal program as their insurance payer, but it's a lot. And so if California ends up losing their funding on that, all these facilities that are heavily Medicaid or utilizing this program are going to be like essentially shit out of luck, I guess is the best way to put it.
And that's only
So
a
you
risk
got-
to California?
No, other states.
Other states too.
Other states. I mean, man, Medicaid is just such a beast of a thing. You got private investors coming in. It's always switching up. You have different payers. It's providers coming in, and it just switches so much. And so that's the biggest risk is if you're very heavily reliant on these programs, if something like that does happen, what are you going to do? You're going to have to pivot. And if you haven't been building your book of business with all these private pay sources, right, and building those relationships with all the individuals I just told you about earlier, what are you going to do then? So I like to have a really good balance of private pay and Medicaid, because if I ever needed to pivot to just private pay, I can do it. And I'm not solely reliant on just Medicaid.
You lost $300,000 because someone stole $300,000 from you in this space. What the heck happened there?
Long story short, had a partnership in 2022, and partnership that we had, individual hit a really rough patch, needed capital. We had some assets. One of them we got a full cash offer on. It wasn't full asking. We actually didn't even make, we technically did not make a profit on that asset, but the way the deal was structured, we were still owed our percentage regardless of what it sold at. And when it sold, it happened so quickly that we didn't have our attorney review the title docs and the escrow docs and the settlement agreement and telling title, hey, this is where the funds are going to be distributed at closing, that they just assumed they all went to him. So they wired all the funds to him, and he kept it and never wired our portion.
Now, typically when these closings happen, the sellers or proceeds typically will go to whoever owns title. So if it's the LLC, it's got to go to a bank that's under the LLC.
Correct.
Or if it's a personal name, it's got to go to that personal name, a checking account that has that personal name. Now in this example, the situation was an LLC. So it went to the LLC, and you guys didn't control that LLC bank account?
He had majority ownership on it.
Okay.
So it should have just been directed at closing that these funds would be issued to our separate entities.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what was told to title. So it just went straight to the entity that he
and that's really how it should flow, though.
Yeah.
It should go to that entity, and then from there you guys send off the portions.
And it should have just it could have just been done where it went to the entity or the main entity at escrow, and then escrow from there, it could have been distributed, but it wasn't. And it just went straight to him. And that was something that we, on our part, should have just had our attorney clarify and make sure that that's what was supposed to happen. But regardless of how that happened, he should have just sent us our money.
For sure.
Whether it just went straight to him or to us, however that happened at escrow, it wasn't escrow's fault or anybody's fault at that. It was our fault for not making sure because we had a feeling he was going to take it.
What was the red flag that gave you that feeling he was going to take it?
Oh man, in the 2 years that we had that relationship and partnership, there's just a lot of red flags. Showing up an hour late to meetings, never following through on things, and these are all just things that kind of developed.
But those aren't
on.
things that would lead you to believe, okay, someone's going to take $300,000.
No, not off the bat.
Yeah,
not off the bat. What would happen once money was starting to get involved in other transactions? He wasn't following through. So there were other little situations that were happening prior to this, and so that's where we realized, okay, he's not following through. And so what we were doing is trying to get him out of a lot of the partnerships that we had with him, whether that was buying him out, different things like that, to just distance ourselves. And so this situation just kind of out of the blue, we weren't expecting it. Honestly, we weren't expecting it. But there's that inkling, you're like, oh, worst case scenario. That was just in the back of our minds.
Yeah. Dude, the truth is, like, most partnerships don't work out. Business partnerships, real estate partnerships, most don't work out. I bought out a lot of partners. I still own a couple of deals with the two guys, Sean and Mike, we all left our air traffic control jobs to get into apartment investing and all that. I bought them out of one deal, and we still own a couple deals together. They're cool dudes, and they would never do something like that. They're good dudes, and I would trust them with my kids if I had kids. Now that said, the reason I'm not buying real estate with them anymore is not because of that, but it's more so, the way they operate and the way they look at like growth is not we're not aligned there, right? And I want to build a big thing. They kind of want to go slow. They don't want to take any risk. And what I feel is like calculated risk. They're like, oh, that's too risky. So, one of them was actually back at the air traffic control facility, which is crazy. They didn't want to do social media content. They didn't want to like build personal branding and all that sort of stuff. And then most importantly, like every decision that we made was a grueling 4-hour, 8-hour meeting. I'm like, dude, you can't grow a business that way. Like there's dozens of decisions that come up every single week, and you got to be able to have the confidence to make a decision and be okay if it's the wrong decision, knowing that you have the wherewithal and you have the resources to like figure it out if you make the wrong decision. We're not going to get 100% of the decisions right. You're probably going to miss on 20 to 25% of them. But if you get 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 right, and you're making dozens of decisions every single week, that compounded over 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months is a big difference in compound growth. And so I ultimately in 2022, I was like, hey, like it's not aligned. I had a conversation with them. I said, hey, there's no hard feelings, but I'm gonna start my own thing. And I said, you guys keep the podcast. We had the Multifamily Takeoff podcast together. And I said, and I started this one. I took everything I liked and didn't like about that podcast. I made it into this and started Summers Capital. And then we got this office shortly after. And then I started growing a lot quicker once I got out of that partnership. Now, I've bought out other partners. I actually recently bought out a partner for like something similar to what you're talking about. There was red flags. There was money being stolen out of the operating account, the bank account, that I did not know about. And so what happened is I got one of the team members who does all the bank accounts and all that. She pays all the mortgages and all that, even for my personal properties. And so I own this one property with that partner. And all of a sudden one day, like, she went to go pay the mortgages and she's like, hey, the bank account's like shut down. This is last year. And she's like, oh, that's kind of weird, but we didn't really, and then he's like, oh, there's a new bank account, like da 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 da. And we didn't really think anything of it. But then when we went to do the taxes for last year, we need to get all the bank statements for the real estate CPA to do the taxes, right? And he's like, oh, we can't get the statements. And she's like, well, yeah, you can. You just got to call the bank and they'll mail you the statements. They're not available. He got a little bit weird. And it turns out then he admitted, he's like, hey, like I took some money out of the account last year. And so for me, I can't do business with people like that, right? That's a hard no for me. And so I was like, cool, dude, like no hard feelings. Like, let's do a buyout. So ended up doing a buyout, bought him out completely. And I never want there to be like hard feelings for stuff like that. I never want anyone to walk away disgruntled. And so I ended up giving him more with the buyout than I could have negotiated. Because the last thing I want, and this is important for the listeners out there, is like, there's a lot, everything that I got going on is way bigger than that one little deal, right? And so I ended up giving him more with the buyout than I could have negotiated because I didn't want him to walk away from that disgruntled and pissed off. If someone's willing to go take money from the operating account, what else are they willing to do to that property if they're disgruntled? What else are they willing to do to your brand if they're disgruntled? And so I did the bigger thing and I said, you know what, like, let me hook him up a little bit so he's happy walking away. And I have the peace of mind moving forward that like, I don't have to worry about those little things. And so we ended up doing that and yeah, he got bought out and everything's good now, right?
Dude, you've been more fortunate than me. You know what he did after this? So we get into a suit. We obviously reach a settlement. Not even 4 months after the suit being filed, right? He goes and commits mortgage fraud.
Damn.
And takes a hard money loan against another asset we had owned against it and fraudulently forged our signatures to be able to get that hard money loan.
Damn, that's crazy.
After we just went through a suit and him taking all that.
And he had like your social security numbers and all that?
It was a hard money loan, so these things process way quicker. I don't even.
Or you guys were. He was forging your.
He took our
DocuSign.
He took our DocuSign
on behalf
signatures.
of the operating agreement for the LLC. Got it. Yeah,
and he took a hard money. And so when that had happened, we filed another suit, and then at that point he was like, "Look, I'll give you guys we'll do a buyout of this," which he ended up owing us money. By the end of it, we didn't pay him anything. And then not shortly after that, this happened earlier this year, where we finally reached that agreement and we got all the equity on the said asset. And then not even 2 months later, he ends up on the news. Crazy story. Owes the attorney general. They had a settlement of like $25 million of all this fraud that he committed. On top of everything else that we dealt with.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy. But it validates like all those red flags along the way like one thing I realized, like as soon as there are some red flags, it's like you really need to cut that relationship. And the truth is most partnerships don't work out. I looked it up the other day. I think it was like something like over 80%, like 82% of like partnerships don't work out in the first like 5 years, you know? And so I always say 3 things to obviously find the ideal partner. Number one is like, first and foremost, they got to be a good human being. So like go out to lunch with them, go out to dinner with them, see how they talk to servers, see how they talk to strangers on the street, because the same way they talk to servers at the restaurant is how they're going to be talking to your vendors, your clients, your investors, your lenders, all that sort of stuff. And they're a reflection of your brand once you partner with them. Number two, you got to make sure that they have a complementary skill set, right? So it's like, okay, if I'm good at sourcing deals and I'm good at raising capital, I'm not going to partner with someone else that's also good at those things. Partner with someone that's good at things that you don't like doing, right? So if you don't like underwriting and you don't like asset management, go partner with someone that can complement those skills. And the third thing is, to the point, my first partner is to where, I ended up stepping away from that partnership and I ended up growing a lot quicker because of it, is you need to partner with people that have a similar level of risk tolerance. People don't talk about this, but it's very important. And so like in business, in real estate, like you have to have some sort of risk tolerance. And if your partners are not aligned with that level of risk tolerance, you're never going to agree on decisions, never. And so those are the 3 things: good human being, complementary skill set, and then similar level of risk tolerance. If you have those 3 things, do it. But I don't know, man. I think now that we're like growing our thing and building our thing, like we don't need partners, right? We got our investors, right? They invest with us, they trust us. We have great investor community. But like I got the team here, Summers Capital, like the leadership positions on my team, they get equity in the hotels we buy. Our investors are great. And I'm going to build $1 billion thing here. And I know the only way to do it is to take care of all of your investors, always be a man of your word, do what you say you're going to do, take care of your team, take care of all the lenders. And if you do all that, good things will happen.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's like, I still have partnerships to this day, but again, it's this one specific situation. It didn't make me sour to partnerships whatsoever. It just made me more hyper aware of people's true intentions at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Serg, I appreciate you coming on, man, dropping so much game. Where can the folks get in touch with you if they want to learn more about everything you're doing? More importantly, if they want to learn more about how they can get started buying their first residential assisted living facility.
Yeah, check out the YouTube channel. It's just my name, Serg, S-E-R-G, and then Lupescu. You guys will find tons of content on there. Follow me on Instagram at serg.lupescu.
Yep. And you have a community teaching people, folks, how to buy assisted living facilities. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's been great. You helped me out with that a lot and what you're doing with your communities. So, dude, we're rocking and rolling in there, man. It's been launched for just over a month.
Okay.
Got 15 members. We're acquiring. We're just killing it, dude. We got LOIs submitted, all kinds of stuff happening in there.
If someone's interested in being a part of your community, how do they learn more?
They could just reach out to Legion Assisted Living Academy at gmail.com, and then we'll go take it from there.
Say that one more time. What is it?
Legion Assisted Living Academy at gmail.com.
There it is. My man, I appreciate you coming on, brother. He is my man, Serg Lupescu. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.